I'm in the last 5 weeks of a fitness photo shoot prep that I have set myself as a goal to commit to for my 43rd birthday. And this is going to be a raw update of exactly what I am doing right now to dig deep for this goal, because it has definitely got a lot tougher in the last couple of weeks. I am also on the home straight. The finish line of the shoot, at least, is in sight. Might not be the complete end of the entire process, because after that comes a reverse into maintenance and all of those things. But I said I would share everything about this journey as I go through. And so this is part of the Level Up series that I'm doing on my podcast, Leaner, Stronger and Confident as Fuck, where I'm taking you behind the scenes of this prep journey so that you can see exactly what it involves. And even if you don't have a goal that is quite as full on, perhaps, as doing a fitness photo shoot prep, if it's something that you are not familiar what that is, if you have heard of a bodybuilding show, then this is kind of like the next tier down from it. So the goal is to bring my best physique to date to the photo shoot. It's a personal goal that I've set for myself. There's going to be no judges like there would be on a bodybuilding show. There's no criteria that I am trying to meet other than just looking my best and feeling my best for my 43rd birthday as a challenge to myself, but taking my physique to somewhere that I have not achieved before, to a level that is actually going to be unsustainable. It's to get to a specific result to then really kind of showcase my physique for the photos. And then there's going to be a period where I'm going to be coming into a more maintainable level of a physique after, but still having kept a lot of the progress that I have made in the last few months. So even if you don't have a goal that is quite as full on as this, like I said, then this is still going to be helpful for you wherever you're at in your transformation journey. Whether you are looking to lose fat, whether you are looking to build muscle, whether you're going through one of those nutritional phases right now to change your physique, so fat loss, reverse, maintenance, a lean build, any of those nutritional phases, there's going to be times when it gets hard and you're going to need to do things that are going to require you to dig deep into that inner resilience and inner mindset to get yourself to grow in the way that's able to therefore go and take that action. And so even though your goal might not require for you to do as much cardio as I'm doing right now, or to go as low with your calories, or to do as much movement as I'm doing right now, I know that this podcast episode is going to be so helpful for you to be able to really just kind of look at your own journey and find comfort in the fact that, yeah, it's going to be hard. And that's kind of the whole point. And you can either run away from that or you can lean into it. So before I share the exact breakdown of how my nutrition, my training, and my movement has progressed over these last few weeks of fat loss, I just wanted to share a reminder that the calories that I am going to be sharing, they are specific to my body, my goals, and how my results are progressing, as well as the result that I am looking to achieve. So please don't copy them. This is not a plan for you to go and do yourself. This is something that is completely tailored to me, to my height, to my history, to my skill level as well in terms of what I am able to commit to right now. And so I say that as a caveat. But I did say I was going to share everything that I'm doing and be completely honest with what it's taking. So here we go. A little bit of a recap as well of why I am doing this fitness photo shoot. If you go back in the Leaner, Stronger and Confident as Fuck podcast to the Level Up series episodes, the one at the very beginning of that, I'll actually link it in the show notes below, explains more about why I am doing this goal. It is not because I was unhappy with my physique before. I was very happy with my physique. I have been working hard on my physique for years and years and years. I was in a really great place, feeling really confident in my own skin. But I was just looking to challenge myself to achieve a level of body composition that I had never got to before. And I wanted to do it as a present to myself for my 43rd birthday. So it's all coming from a really positive place. It's not to try and fix something, not to try and run away from something. It is to level up and really for the personal development journey that I knew that it would come with as part of the process. And so I started working with a coach to achieve this goal. We started together back in November because I knew that I wanted to work with a coach from the beginning, because I value coaching as a coach myself. Of course I do. And because this is something that I hadn't achieved before, and I wanted support. I wanted to have that extra layer of accountability. And honestly, I wanted someone else to make the decisions for me, because when you are going through a body transformation journey, like I have, the rest of my life that I'm thinking about, and I'm looking after clients myself in my own coaching business. And so I just wanted to outsource my choices and my progress and decision making to someone else, because it can be very challenging to have the kind of neutral perspective that is going to be really beneficial for your best results when you are so in the thick of it yourself, and when you may be hungry and tired, and when you're experiencing frustrations. It's so helpful to have someone with a calm, neutral perspective to be able to make those decisions for you, especially if you choose a coach who has your health and your best interests at heart. And the coach that I'm working with, he is very skilled in the area of physique development. So I'm learning even more of my own knowledge as well, which I love. And I also trust him because I know that he also has a health first approach. So we started together in November. We started in a primer phase. We did 6 weeks of that. Then we went into a 6-week body recomp phase. And around this period, just to give you some context, my calories were in a really good spot. They were around maintenance. They were fluctuating anywhere from like 2,100 up to 2,300. To give you some more context, I am 5'3", so I am very petite, but I have spent quite a long time building muscle, and I also naturally had a high step count, so I was maintaining on a really good amount of calories, and so I was on that for the first couple of months. Then we started the fat loss phase properly on the 9th of February. So this is my 10th week of fat loss as of recording this episode. And when we started out with a fat loss phase, my calories were still actually really quite high. I was on 1675 calories on 4 low days throughout the week. Have I got that right? No, cardio wise, we were doing 3. On 3 low days throughout the week, I was doing 1675 calories. Then I had 4 high days through the week, which were on my training days, my strength training days, of 1885 calories. Protein was at 150 grams for both of those days, and my carbs and fats fluctuated a little bit between the days to account for those higher calories and the lower days. So we did that for 7 weeks, and I was losing at a consistent rate, and that was great. I was really pleased to be able to still get the great results that I was getting in the first 7 weeks on that high amount of calories. Then on week 8, the calories were cut. They went to 1585 for my low days, but my high days were then cut to 1715 calories, so 1715. And again, that's still not too bad, especially for someone who is petite like me. And the reason of having the higher calories on the training days is to obviously give you more fuel to be able to push harder in your training, which is going to help you be able to hold onto your muscle mass, which is so important when you're in a fat loss phase. But also, if there's a chance of you being able to still build any muscle in a fat loss phase, you don't want to cut calories too low if that is something that we also want to work on. Then with the first 8 weeks, my steps were at 12,000 steps a day as a minimum. If I wanted to go over that, I could. And every week I was always over that because I just naturally have my steps sitting at around 13,500 often as an average across the week. I was doing 3 52-minute steady state cardio sessions a week. This was for the first 8 weeks. And we're doing steady state, so it doesn't impact recovery too much. And I was mixing that up by going on things like the cross trainer, the bike, and an incline treadmill. Just in zone 2, steady, so it doesn't impact hunger too much and it doesn't impact recovery. And because I have just with my coach said, I will do whatever it is that you think is the best thing to do for the result that we want. And because I don't love being super hungry. I mean, I don't know anyone who particularly does, but hunger is something that often has come up for me in the past as an issue of why I have struggled to stick to deficits in previous years, and something that, I've actually had to do some work around, some inner work around sitting with, to be able to allow myself to feel okay experiencing hunger. I won't go into that now, but that all harps back to years and years and years gone by, when I had some issues around how I was approaching my nutrition and like all of those things. But anyway, that's a story for another day. And so I was happy to have that amount of cardio in, because it also meant I was able to keep my food higher. Protein was still at 150 grams at this stage, and I was strength training 4 times a week. That has not changed the entire time throughout this prep. I do 2 upper days, 2 lower days. All of those sessions, I focus on progressive overload and training close to failure, tracking my lifts and really giving it as much as I can every single session. So those were the first 8 weeks of fat loss. Then we started to kind of experience that, and when I say we, I'm talking about me and my coach. It's a team effort. Then I started to experience more metabolic adaptation. This is a normal part of the process, that your body adapts to the lower calories that you're on and the amount of movement that you're doing. And it starts to focus on conserving energy. And this is why you need to focus on, or you need to be aware that you're probably going to have to make some adjustments in a fat loss phase to continue to see the progress. And typically, this can be something that kicks in even more when you have lost about 10% of your body weight. And so, to give you some more context, I started this fat loss phase at around 60.5 kilos. And by about week 8, I had lost about 5 kilos. So it was down to around that 55 and a half. So week 9, last week, things definitely started to ramp up, because progress just really started to slow. The scale didn't move for about 2 weeks, despite the fact that I was hitting the targets really precisely. I was barely eating out. I've been so on it with all of my targets, because I really want to get the best result for this photo shoot. And the measurements weren't really changing that much, and the photos also weren't showing too many signs of change, because the scale isn't everything, but it is important to still track alongside those other metrics. And together, the photos, the measurements, and the scale all starts to build a picture of how well things are progressing. And all of those combined were kind of saying I kind of stalled a little bit. And because we're on a time crunch, there wasn't a lot of space to just think, oh, we'll just give it another week at the targets. We have been more proactive about making changes to the targets versus, like I said, if it was more of a lifestyle client that I was working with, we might say, let's just give it another week and see if things actually do continue to progress on these targets before making a change. But because, again, we're on a deadline, that's not been the approach that we've taken with this. So week 9, things got a lot harder. Calories got cut to 1430 calories. So it went from 1585 on my lower days, 1715 on my higher days, to 1430 across all 7 days. So quite a big difference there. Protein was at 140 grams across the day, so that was lowered very slightly. Fats were reduced to a kind of like baseline minimum for health for me. Again, these are figures just for my body, at 30 grams a day. And then carbs were then at 150 grams a day. So not mega low with carbs still, because we still want the energy to be able to train effectively and for all the movement. Steps were brought up to 13,000 on average as a baseline. And then cardio was also increased to 4 times 52 minutes sessions a week. Now, it's important to note here as well that my cardio do count towards my steps. For a lot of clients that I work with, we separate them out, especially when in fat loss, but this is just the way that my coach works. And so this is exactly how those targets worked out. And yet, on week 9, still not a huge amount was moving. And so we have made another cut. So this is week 10 and things have definitely got a lot tougher. I'm now on 1290 calories across all 7 days. Protein is still at 140, fats are still at 30 grams a day, and carbs are at 115 grams a day. Steps are now up to 14,000 across the week, as in an average for the day, and then cardio has also been bumped up to 5 times 52 minute sessions a week. And I'm still doing my 4 strength sessions. So ramped up a lot. And what I've actually found very interesting from how things have got so far. So this is, just to give it, again, context back to the beginning. When I started in the primer phase, I was eating about 1,000 calories a day more than what I'm currently having to dig to in this deficit. And so that shows you how much your body can adapt as you go through this process, especially once you are starting to dig more than 10% of your body weight lost in one fat loss phase. This is why I often, when I'm working with clients, we take a break after we've got to, about 10% of you've lost about 10% of your body weight. You maybe have a diet break, or you take like a couple of months away from a fat loss phase before then going into another one, because your body does start to focus on conserving energy more, and things can feel like you have to push a lot harder to get the result. And we again are on a deadline, and so there's no option for a diet break right now. There's 5 weeks left. We actually pushed the photo shoot out by 1 week because progress had really started to slow. And my lower body is like the least responsive to change, shall we say. My legs have definitely been much, much, much slower to change. And again, this is completely normal. None of this is like super surprising. And so I hope this gives you comfort if you're experiencing any of these things yourself. And the problem area that you might say, and I've got problem in air quotes for anyone who's watching the video on this on Spotify or YouTube, because it's often the area that we have noticed in our own bodies that, maybe we don't like the most, or that just feel like they're the slowest to change, or, we store more body fat in that area. For me, it's my legs and my lower body. It's just how it has always been. I have a much more neutral relationship with my body and my lower body now than I did when I was younger. But when I was younger, I used to say things like, I hate my legs, I hate my lower body, all of those things. And I don't use those kind of language anymore. But the fact is, my lower body is the slowest to change, and that is where I tend to store a lot more body fat. And so we've given ourselves an extra week for this photo shoot to be able to dig things a little bit deeper, to be able to reveal more of the muscle mass that is there on my legs and is starting to come through as my body fat percentage reduces more. But what I want to share with you that I hope will be helpful for your own journey if you are in a fat loss phase, or if you're at another challenging part of your own body transformation journey, is that unfortunately we cannot choose our deficit calories or our maintenance calories. And, do I want to be eating 1,290 calories a day across all 7 days and doing that level of movement? No, I don't. I would much rather be eating more and moving slightly less. But this is what the data is showing is required for me to continue to push and to continue to see progress at this time. And as part of continuing to push for the last few weeks, I'm not eating out at all anymore for the last few weeks. And I am being so meticulous with my tracking and incredibly, incredibly organized, because that's the only way that I can get all of this done and still run my business and still also live my life and, not feel like a complete robot. And so being organized, structure creates freedom. The more organized I am, the easier it is to stick to my plan, the more free time I have. Eating out is just a no-go with the amount of calories that I'm on and the result I am looking to achieve. For the clients that I work with, they are looking to achieve a lifestyle transformation. I'm looking to take things that little bit further for my own journey for this photo shoot. And so I'm needing to do things that are more extreme than a lot of people who ever do a lifestyle, fat loss phase or lifestyle transformation would ever need to do. So please don't listen to this thinking that you are going to have to do exactly the same. For example, if you're trying to lose fat, most of my clients eat out 1 to 2 times a week. That's the guidelines that I give for best results in fat loss, keeping it to eating out 1 to 2 times a week, choosing simple things off the menu, overestimating when you're tracking, and then also just focusing on, nailing your targets 90% of the time plus when you're in fat loss should be able to get you a really good lifestyle transformation result. But like I said, and most of my clients aren't doing as much cardio, and they are not, some of them are having to do as many steps as I am doing right now for their body and their goals, but it's also individual. It depends on the result that you want, depends on what you're willing to do, And it depends on what the data is saying to you that you also might need to do to continue to get the result. But the difference is, for me, is that there would have been a time where I would not have been able to achieve what I'm achieving right now, because I just wasn't solid enough with my foundation, with my habits. I would have struggled to get to this lower calories, I think, and still feel fine. And a big reason for that is, I believe, is that I have really just dialed in my nutrients and how I'm fueling myself in this phase so well with the help of my coach, because I am following a meal plan for this prep. And even though I'm eating 1290 calories, I am really focused on getting enough fiber, obviously getting enough protein. I'm eating all completely whole foods. I actually feel good. And it's because, I'm just getting so many nutrients with all the food that I'm eating. So again, it's like, please make sure if you ever need to go, to a lower calorie amount than you're used to, you need to focus on the quality of your nutrition to be able to make sure you are not deficient in micronutrients as you go through that. And that's why, again, working with a coach is really helpful to make sure you are covering those bases. And so that's a big reason that I'm able to kind of ride this out in terms of the calories that I'm on. And, I'm not drinking. There's no way I'd be spending any calories on things like that as I go through this process. And I'm sleeping really well. I'm drinking loads of water. I actually feel very healthy. And the only reason I think that I've been able to kind of stick to it in the way that I have is because I have the support of the coach, and because I have stepped down to this gradually. If I'd have gone from 2200 calories at the beginning all the way down to this, that would have been too big a shock to my system. But that is what so many people do when they go on a crash diet, and then they don't look after the amount of nutrients that they need or eat enough protein, and so they lose muscle mass and end up in a world of pain at the end of it. So that's not what I'm doing. All of those bases are covered. But the reason that I wanted to share just about some of the things that I'm doing to navigate this tough phase is also because I went on this journey to level up my standards, to build resilience, to remind myself that I can do hard things. And so I'm tapping into that why as I go through these last few weeks. Having a strong mindset, no matter whether you're going through a lifestyle fat loss phase, whether you're building muscle, whether you're focused on nailing maintenance, wherever you're at in your own journey, is really part of the process if you want to have a lifestyle long-term transformation. And when my targets have been reduced, I have a little mental talk to myself, and I'm like, okay, do I still want this goal? Yes. Do I still want the level of result that I have committed to? Because I could go and have photos taken now, and I would still be really happy with that because I've still achieved so much in the last few months. But I know that there's more that I can tap into. And so I have this conversation with myself. Do I still want it? Yes. Am I still willing to push for it? Yes. And once I've made that decision, it's about how can I make these targets happen? Not am I going to make them happen? It's how am I going to make it happen? How do I need to reorganize my routine to be able to get that extra cardio in, to get those extra steps in, to make sure that I am still, eating my meals at particular times, to manage hunger and things like that. And there's no complaining, because there's absolutely no point in complaining. I've said that I want this goal. I've chosen it. So what is the point in complaining? That would just make my life miserable and my coach's life miserable too. So I own my decisions, and I just take the negotiation out of it. This is something that I talk to a lot of my clients about, because you cannot negotiate with yourself if you actually want to make it easier for yourself to do the journey. Every time you negotiate about whether you're going to get up when your alarm goes off, whether you're going to go to the gym, whether you're going to go for that walk, it's taking the energy away from you that you could just use to go and do the thing. And it's so much simpler in my own experience to have decided, make the decision if you're going to do it or not. And then, as in the whole goal, so that from that macro level, make the decision. And then if you decide that you are going to do it and that you do want that goal, take all the negotiation out of the process. Like, make sure, yes, you actually can commit to it, and then become the person who follows through on their word. And that's a habit that I have developed over the last few years by a lot of trial and error. So also be kind to yourself if it's not something you can just instantly snap into. I didn't get here overnight. I did it by continuing to mess up and course correct and try again and, develop my skills and rinse and repeat. But I do think a big reason that I am able to get through this bit that I know is potentially going to get even tougher. I don't even know where it's going to get to in the next, 4 weeks. It really depends how my body responds. But the big reason that I know that I can get through it is, I have the support of my coach, who is fantastic. I know as well that it is temporary, because fat loss is a phase. And because I have spent so long, most of the last 2 years, in fact, at maintenance, and nailing the skill of maintenance, intentional maintenance. And I don't just mean doing whatever I want. I mean being intentional with maintaining my physique, building muscle, tracking my calories at maintenance, living a great, flexible life. I know that on the other side of this, once I really made myself proud of the result, I'm going to come out of it, reverse out of it, find a new maintenance, which might be slightly less calories than what I was maintaining on before, but let's see. And that will just take a bit of experimentation. Then I will know that I will get back to that balance. And I think the problem that I had for so many years in my transformation journey, and if you have been stuck in the yo-yo cycle, please listen to this bit especially. The problem that I had in my yo-yo journey years and years and years ago myself is because I always was trying to live on low calories. I was trying to live in the fat loss phase. I was thinking low calories was better. I had to do all this cardio like all the time. And I was always trying to diet, and that's just not my life anymore. My life is maintenance, and this is a phase. It will end. I'm going to get great results. So proud of myself of how I've gone through it. I'm going to transition out of it into maintenance and have more flexibility back in my life again. And that knowledge that it's just temporary, but not temporary because then I'm just going to give everything up and just go back to I wouldn't go back to being YOLO because that was a million years ago anyway. But, when I was doing things in the past, I would fall off a diet and then I would just go and do whatever I wanted, and it would just be this swing the other way. But because I've spent so long nailing intentional maintenance, I'm feeling really confident in that place. I know that that's where I'm going back to next. And so that is helping me push through. So I hope that has given you some things to think about in your own journey. And of course, if you want support in your own journey, then reach out to me to apply for coaching, to do one-on-one coaching, or to join the next round of my group coaching program, Lean Body Blueprint, because there is no way I could have done this without the right support for me, because having that, like I said, external perspective, that extra, accountability and guidance, you don't have to do it alone. And if you're looking to achieve something that you have never achieved before, then get help. That is, such an important part of your journey. And of course, if that is something that you want to explore together, just send me a message on Instagram, or you can also reach out on email to me as well. Links and all the things will be in the show notes of this episode. So thanks so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know your takeaways as well. Let me know if that's helped you in your own journey. I'd absolutely love to hear from you, and I'll talk to you on the next episode.